Namaste everyone, Ram here. Today I want to take advantage and start some lectures. Recently I had a slip and fall injury at a local restaurant, so I've been told by the doctors to kind of lay off doing poses, so I haven't wanted to add any of the things that I want to do that are more yoga related. Today I want to talk about something actually very important. So recently my father-in-law went to get his prostate exam, and they did a little biopsy and they found that he actually had some benign tumor, some benign growth that is kind of like a precancerous stage. And so I wanted to talk about a little bit about how is it that you get to that point. So oftentimes people think that genes are what predetermine who you are. And so you have to understand that this concept is actually changing. There's a revolution occurring in genetics, and you should be aware of it so that you know that you actually have more power than you actually think when it comes to your well-being, your overall sense of happiness, feeling stress-free, disease-free, etc. And so I was asked, I'm going to be turning 43 years old in a few months, and recently in a recent time a student mentioned, Dr. Ramos, why don't you get tested for prostate, because you're getting at that age. Kind of said it kind of in a joking fashion. And my response was very simple. I do not need to get tested for that because I do not do the things that are conducive to getting prostate cancer. So again, I do not need to get tested for that particular cancer, or really any cancer for that matter, because I do not do the things that are conducive to getting that cancer. We often think of diseases as being a product of getting older, when in fact, we get older faster than we should. We have age-related conditions that we shouldn't have. We could live stress and disease-free well into the end of my days, and leave my body willingly, consciously, rather than because my body is dying and I have no choice but to vacate. And yes, you do vacate. Your consciousness does not reside here, just here. All right, so you actually have more control. Less than 5% of all genetic conditions are related to genes. Meaning that if I were to have a mutation in a particular gene, that mutation would lead to a disease. Maybe it is that that gene produces an abnormal protein, and that protein then is dysfunctional and it leads to a disease manifesting. The majority of the conditions aren't like that. You could have two sets of twins. They could have identical DNA. One could have mental health issues, the other one not. One could be obese, the other one not. And so why is that? Why is it that both individuals have the same DNA, yet both are very different? What really matters is what you do with your DNA. How do you use it? Are you turning on the right genetic programs for health and well-being, or are you going to the extremes and leading to disease and suffering and pain? The decision is yours. Just think about it. You have about at least 200 different types of cells. They all possess the same DNA, but they're all vastly different. Why? Because of gene expression. You have a set of strings of DNA. They all have their set of genes, and you can activate some genes more than others, turn off some, turn on others. Experiences that you have do this as well. Your genetic programs are dynamically changing as you live. So if I'm stressed out chronically, my genes are changing. My gene expression is changing. What is produced from my DNA is going to change. And it can lead to hormonal changes, biochemical changes. It can lead to structural changes on your DNA. It can lead to anatomical changes. It can lead to cognitive issues, mental health issues, emotional issues, so on and so forth. And so how do we master being in balance? So before I get into this, your assignment is to do the following. And so I want you to do this assignment, and whoever does this assignment, please go to my website, shoot me a message there on the comments, say I did the assignment, and get on the phone with me, a free consultation, a free coaching session. We'll get on, we'll look at and assess what things are you doing that are bringing you to where you want to be, to a sattvic state, to a state of balance. This is a Sanskrit term, is a yogic term for balance. It's one of the three gunas, tamas, sattvas, and rajas. It's a particular spiritual quality that I won't go into too much detail today, just to describe some of these qualities as they manifest in us. But where you want to be is right here, sat. All right, so where you want to be, there was some noise, so I had to restart. So where you want to be is right here. So what are the things that are driving you away from balance? So I want you to make a list of the things, maybe even before you watch this, what are the things that you think you do that keep you healthy? And then what are the things that you think you are doing that move you away? And so you have to ask yourself one important thing. If you know that there are things in your life that are driving you away from balance, why do you continue to do them? You need to understand why is it that you persist in certain behaviors even though they are hurting you. There may be unseen forces that are underlying in your consciousness that you're not aware of. Maybe you're attached to something or addicted to something, or you're desirous of something and you can't let go. And so you're having a hard time. Like, for example, oftentimes, if you read Art of Stress-Free Living, and anything that I'll do, I'm always promoting a whole plant-based diet, because diet of a frugivore. A frugivore, let me just write that down here, F-R-U-G-I-V-O-R-E, frugivore. And frugivore is an organism that eats fruits, vegetables, roots, seeds, nuts, legumes, stuff like that. Those are the things that we actually are meant to eat. We're made to eat. They benefit our body. In essence, they are medicine. They talk to your genes the right way, and they do not induce disease. Obviously, some of the food here nowadays can induce disease because of a lot of practices that we have, particularly the way we grow foods. We've made the soil less nutrient rich, less valuable. We're adding chemicals to the environment, and it's made our drinking water and other things much more difficult. And I'll be uploading a blog post very soon. You can find the link below, where I talk about how to detoxify yourself. So a number of tips to be able to do that. And you want to read that because it has a lot of great useful information. So think about the things that you do that move you away from balance, and at either end, as you'll see, and what things you think are keeping you in balance. And then go online, book a free coaching session. We'll get on the phone, we'll look at the list, and I'll give you advice. Because I'm here to serve. No strings attached, no trying to sell anything. It's me trying to help you. It's as simple as that. So, so again, where you want to be is in balance. But the question is, how do we get to balance? One important trait is obviously diet. And so in this channel and a lot of work that I do emphasize diet. And in the book, The Art of Stress-Free Living, where you can get a copy on the link below, I talk about how you can actually achieve that state of being more disease-free as it comes to diet. There are a lot of powerful superfoods, herbs. What you want here is to, let's see where I can write this, looking at the screen right here. You want to avoid foods that are high in calorie or energy and low in nutrients. These nutrients, a lot of people, we've become the society focused on macronutrients, on protein, carbohydrates, the fats, and we get obsessed. There's so many diets out there. All of them are just fads. It's a very simple system to be able to have a beautiful body, a healthy body, and be in balance. You don't really need to obsess about fats. they are fats that you should avoid, animal fats that are going to cause cardiovascular disease, that are going to cause a whole number of problems. And so what you want are more plant-based oils, unsaturated fats, the omega fatty acids. There are good fats, and then there are fats that you don't want. But we become a society that's really obsessed with that. You see a lot of labels out there. A ton of protein. We become a society that overconsumes protein. That also leads to health consequences. You can get sufficient protein and everything you need if you eat the right way. We just need to become a little bit less obsessed with trying to eat one thing, trying to mega dose, and actually become more balanced. So one key thing to be in balance is not to focus on extremes and mega dosing and overdoing things. You can actually find in simplicity is where you can find that. All right, so you want to avoid foods like this. Foods that are high in calorie and low in nutrition, for example, are going to be foods like a donut, for example. It's a food that provides you nothing. It provides no sustenance whatsoever. It gives you a lot of calories, some macronutrients, mainly fat and sugar, refined sugars, which are also detrimental to your health, and no nutrition. Juice industry, the dairy industry, the beef industry, so on and so forth. All of these are providing excessive amounts of certain things and very little of the things that you actually need. The real nutrition, the real medicine that your body needs to be whole and complete. So what you want instead is to increase the so-called superfoods. And you want them preferably live or raw, whole, unprocessed. And so why is it that you want them like this intact? Because intact, you minimize oxidation. So the air here is loaded with oxygen. All food is chemistry. Your body is loaded with chemicals. Do you want to put the right chemicals that interact with your chemicals the right way? Or do you want to put chemicals in that interact with your chemistry in the wrong way? It is up to you. So these superfoods are going to be the opposite of this. They're not going to be high in calorie. They're going to be low in calories. So they're going to be good for the waistline. So if you're looking for weight loss, things of that nature, you want these type of foods. And they're going to be high in nutrition. You're going to examine them, and it's as if they were tailor-made for you. They're going to have all the right combinations of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory components, foods that activate genes that lead to detoxification. As you see my son in the background there swimming. And foods that are going to heal you. They're going to be good for your mental health. They nurture and feed your nervous system the right way, your cells the right way, to keep them in balance. So these superfoods, live, raw, and unprocessed, you're minimizing any reactivity with the environment. Just take an apple and you put it and you leave it that half of that apple open. What's going to happen? It's going to start browning. What's happening is that the molecules on the surface are reacting with the oxygen, they're oxidizing and they're changing. Rusting is the same thing. You take a metal and that metal starts to oxidize, and after a while you don't have on the surface iron, for example. If you have an iron bar, what you have is iron oxide. Instead of having iron, solid iron, it will interact with oxygen to produce iron oxide, or feo, as in Spanish means ugly. So this is exactly the same thing that's happening. If I cook something, so we take over here tamas. And a tamasic person is a person that will like to eat foods that hurt, foods cooked twice. You want to avoid that. If you cook something, I recommend that if you're going to eat it the next day, you have it in your refrigerator, take it, put it in your container, eat it room temperature. If you heat it again, you're going to then change the food even more. Fried foods should be added to this list as well. Fried foods, you're going to have foods that are going to hurt you. because those oils are going to be reacting in that excessive heat. Oil is good for you, these vegetable oils, but if they're eaten natural, cold pressed, unprocessed, you add them to a salad, let's say for example, they're actually going to be good for you. So food is one component. And so you want to make sure that you're increasing your intake of superfoods, healing herbs. In a later future session, I'll be talking about some of these herbs that I use. I do describe most of them, if not all of them, in the Art of Stress-Free Living. I'll go into some detail in a YouTube video for those who prefer video format. There's another component to this, which is mindset, which is how we think, how we live. So oftentimes we agitate ourselves, we drive ourselves away from balance. So if I'm a speaker and I'm projecting out to a lot of people, there's a lot of energy that I'm having to invest and give, and it's changing actually my vibration, my frequency. It's changing how I'm interacting with my body and with my genes. I feel it. You can actually become aware of this process. You're likely not aware of it right now. There are techniques that I teach that actually help you become aware of subtle aspects of yourself, hidden dimensions of consciousness that you're not aware of yet. You may be aware of the reduced version of you, which is the body, which is your thoughts, who you think you are, and you're so much more than what you think you are. And if you discover who that is, you're going to discover this rich bounty, this beautiful gift that I want to share with you. I want you to be able to discover that, to rediscover it and realize yourself again, so that you can know who you are and you can live in peace and balance. So there are these opposing forces in nature, rajas and tamas. It's the polarity of life, it's the opposites. One of them is agitation, activity, movement, and you can see that the opposite of tamas, lethargy, stagnation, inertia, confusion, stress and anxiety, depression, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, tiredness. Over here you're going to have excessive energy. We can add over here restlessness. So this is the same inverted view that you see with stress. So here would be ideal, and over here is stress, and over here would be like drowsiness. So my neurochemistry is enhanced by stress, and it turns off certain areas of my brain like my frontal lobe. And when I'm drowsy, my neurochemistry is decreased, and that also turns on my brain. My brain can function as well. What I want is an ideal amount. I want to be in balance. So again, your homework after this video is think about the things that are driving you to one extreme. What are the things that are keeping you in balance? Let me give you an example before we continue with this. My wife once asked me, why is it that animals don't get sick like we do? And the answer is very simple. Animals do not get in the way of nature. To be in health and in perfect harmony, you need to be in harmony with nature. We are a nature-deprived society that has lost sight of our connection with the earth and with what keeps us whole and complete. An animal, because it doesn't add the elements that we add, the emotions, the thoughts, even karma, the law of action and reaction, they are not generating pathological states of being, of thought, of emotion that are conducive to disease. And so oftentimes if they were to get sick, it is usually a pet, and that is human induced. The human doesn't know how to feed the animal. Like I had a cat when I was younger, and I didn't know what I was feeding, and the cat got overweight and ended up developing diabetes. And so I have a different pet now, and I guarantee you that dog will not have diabetes. He's on a vegan diet, and he exercises, and he's super healthy, and we give him even some supplements and what have you. That, you know, he's a very well pampered dog, as you should be as well. and should be every person around you. This is your temple. This should feel good. You should move with grace. You should move with power. You should have the body that you deserve, the mind that you deserve, the brain that you deserve, the spirit that can manifest fully in the here and now. And you can do that. So an animal, in essence, doesn't get in the way of that. So think about, this is going to be in a book that I'm already working on, where I describe some of these dynamics. This kind of revolution that's occurring in genetics now that a lot of people are not aware of. And in it, I mentioned, if you take an animal in the savannah, the animal in the savannah will get stressed when a lion chases it, or a cheetah or what have you. And if it gets away and is back with this group and the predator goes away, they go back to normal. Stress levels go down. They're not thinking of and obsessing about the next attack. We live that way. We live psychosocially stressing ourselves, worrying about things, and it turns on the same stress pathways that that animal in the savannah does. We are our own worst enemies by the way we think, by the way we regulate our emotions, by the way we feed ourselves, our habits, our practice, how we relate to the world, what music do we listen to. All these things matter. How do I treat other people? How do I treat animals? How do I treat a stranger? How do I treat a poor person or a beggar? All of these things actually change my being and either take me away from balance or bring me closer to it. So let's look, it's very easy. It's better to, I think it's always better to focus not on the extremes, but focus more on what things you should cultivate. And with this, we'll wrap up the video for today. And again, if anything that I teach piques your interest, put a comment below. I will answer any question. I will do a video tailor-made to whatever your needs are. This is a community effort. I welcome input. And if somebody doesn't like something I say, I welcome that too, because to be honest, I only speak the truth. This is based on years of research and practice. I have mastered the art of living a stress and disease-free life. I can teach that to anybody. And if you want to work with me, you can just follow the link below. If you want the free coaching session that I mentioned, by all means, do the assignment, but you got to go into that coaching session with the assignment already done. We're going to be discussing what things you think are helping you and what things you think are not, and I will help bring you to that middle point to teach you, okay, these things you think are helping you, but they're really not, and let's try to bring you closer to a healthier place, and hopefully that will be able to serve you. And so, to be able to be in this homeostatic state, what you want is to be like your cells. Your cells innately want to be in homeostasis. What is taking them out of homeostasis? That hidden dimension of consciousness that is not part of the body, that gives rise to it. Remember, the body is a gross manifestation of the mind. You are projecting onto the body disease. How? For example, with the food you eat. How are you eating? What are you eating? Are you overeating something? Are you staying up late? Are you stressed out? Are you overworking yourself? Are you exercising too much? What type of exercises are you doing? Are they good for your joints or your back? Those are the things you have to think about. And oftentimes it requires you to become educated. Of course, I took 2 decades to do this. And in my 66-day program, I synthesized those 2 decades into those 66 days. So you get kind of like a synthetic version of all these experiences, and you don't have to do as much effort to reach them. And so we're constantly doing things to take ourselves away from where they want to be. Naturally, you should be in balance. And if you're able to start to let go of this idea of being the doer and being so focused on the wrong things, on doing and doing and doing, and you can settle more on silence, on calmness, start to eat better, eat the foods, which can be a topic of a future video, eat foods that are actually good for your mind and are actually conducive to concentration, to power, to calmness, and eventually to meditation, and eventually to samadhi, what is called samadhi, one-pointedness, union eventually with your true self God, to who you really are, where you can actually reside in this amazing state beyond description, and then you learn how to bring that into the here and now, into your body, and then share that with the world. Share your light and your radiance and your beauty with all, and your love. So how do you keep yourself in a state where you can actually keep all of these traits? You can be very mentally clear. You walk around and you're not constantly inundated with thoughts. You've gotten control over your mind. That requires practice. You're not going to acquire that overnight. One thing that is often ignored is selflessness, charity, compassion. So when I do anything, what are the consequences of what I'm doing? So if I'm eating something, what took to bring that food into my household? You have to be mindful of that. You have to start instituting as best as you can practices into your life, habits into your life, foods into your body that are not causing harm to another being, that are not leading to death, to environmental destruction. And so in my book, Voyage from Human to God, which will be coming out later this year, I go into detail about the limbs of yoga, and in those limbs, one of those limbs is called ahimsa, or non-violence. And so this limb of ahimsa is important because when you're actually doing anything in life, you want to make sure that it is not causing harm to another being. And so that's key. How charitable are you being? That is important. That has been shown to actually be good for your health. It boosts your immune system. If you're selfish, if you're angry, if you're lustful, if you're confused, if you're possessive, etc., all these things are changing the dynamics of the frequency of your body. They're changing how the resonance of your genes and what your genes are producing. It changes your genetic expression in ways that are damaging to your body. And so you want to make sure that you work towards staying in this path. And so in future lectures, make sure to comment below. I will teach you how to remain in sattva, what things to do, what practice to exercise, what exercises to do, food to eat, etc. How to avoid the extremes so that you aren't sick, because in the extremes is where you're going to get the flu and the cancer and the cold and all the other diseases that are commonplace. There's a huge element that is an existential one that relates to where you've come from and where you're going, to aspects of yourself that go beyond your current lifetime. And those are going to be a topic for a future lecture, but those are actually important as well, because oftentimes we aren't a blank slate. And so oftentimes we think of us as coming in as a blank slate into this world, when in fact we're already bringing primed experiences that we're going to have, whether it's prone to addiction, whether it's susceptibility to a particular disease, whether it's actually a certain inheritance that's going to make me more susceptible to getting sick in the future, to having difficult relationships or difficulties or obstacles in life. All of these things can be examined and resolved. There's a way to actually do this, and I'm here to help. Just take a chance. Do the free coaching session, do the assignment, write down the things that you think are keeping you in balance, things that are moving you away, and let's see if I can help you. All right, I hope that served you well. My name is Ram, the DNA hacker from Rama's Rooted Tree, and check out the blog below for the detoxification. It's going to be super important. It'll be coming up. It's probably going to be up before this video is up. Okay, take care. Love you.